The first portion of Steelers training camp in Latrobe is over. Today, the players have a day off, and then tomorrow, the pads come on. But today, through those 4 non-padded practices, I have my list of 16 winners and 10 losers on the Steelers roster through the first 4 practices in Latrobe. I'll break down my list here in just a second. But first, if you want live practice updates while the Steelers are on the field in Latrobe every single morning and afternoon, you can follow me on X for Steelers live practice updates from Latrobe. I'm going to let you guys know all the big plays that happen, every turnover, everything that happens down there. Guys have been doing it since they opened up camp last week. So make sure you give me a follow at Jack_Sperry if you want those live play-by-play updates. And I'll tell you guys what, all right, if you go ahead right now and you go to X and you follow me on there, I will give you guys a shout out on Wednesday's Steelers Talk Live show. So really do appreciate your guys' support. So if you want those live practice updates all throughout Steelers training camp, make sure you go give me a follow at Jack_Sperry. And then later tonight, actually, guys, we're going to be going live here on Steelers Talk for Paul Skeens a day. They're going up against the Houston Astros at Minute Maid Park tonight. We're going to be going live at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. First pitch is 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's going to be me and our MLB analyst here at Chat Sports, Jack Sperry. These things are a lot of fun, man. So if you want to join us, if you love our Steelers Talk live shows, I think you'll really like our Paul Skeens watch parties as well. So if you're interested in that, you can join us at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. So first up here, let's start with the good news. All right, let's start with the positives, and let's start with the winners in camp to this point, in my opinion. Now, keep in mind here, if you see somebody on the winners or losers list here, it doesn't mean they're going to be on there forever, right? This is just the early portion of training camp. No pads have been on yet, and once the pads come on tomorrow, shit gets real. Okay, so let's get into the first winner here, which is clearly the star of camp, at least in my opinion to this point, and that's Donte Jackson. Of course, when the Steelers traded Donte Johnson, their number 1 receiver from last year, to the Panthers in exchange for Donte Jackson, a lot of people scratched their heads. You know, Donte Jackson hasn't really been, like a star-level cornerback in this league before, but he is coming in here to Pittsburgh. Obviously, Mike Tomlin believes in this guy if they traded Donte Johnson for him pretty much straight up, and he has been nothing but phenomenal to this point in camp. He intercepted Justin Fields yesterday. He's had a bunch of great pass breakups, even against guys like George Pickens, and we know how good Pickens can be in those contested catch situations. So Donte Jackson, he looks legit. Steelers cornerback duo with Joey Porter Jr. and Donte Jackson look like they're the real deal. Then we get to Beanie Bishop Jr., the slot cornerback, who's getting most of the first-team reps now. Now, Josiah Scott and Graylin Arnold got most of the first-team reps in OTAs. Now that we've gotten to Latrobe, Beanie Bishop Jr. is getting the opportunity to prove himself as the starting slot corner for week 1. And I'm super excited to see how he's going to do in these early preseason games. He's looked pretty darn good during the early practices, so kudos to the undrafted free agent for really solidifying himself here, and hopefully he can continue to do so as camp goes on. Then we can go pretty much all 3 starting corners here. Joey Porter Jr. is also a winner because he has pretty much locked down George Pickens throughout camp to this point. Okay, he's had a bunch of great pass breakups. He's super sticky in coverage. He is leaving off right where he left off, guys. Last season, when he locked down number 1 receiver after number 1 receiver when he started playing for the Steelers last year, he is Pittsburgh's Meg defender, so he's going to be the person in press man coverage. They're going to be able to shade the defense to the other side of the formation because this guy right here is so good in press man coverage, and he's even shutting down a guy as talented as George Pickens to this point. So big, and a really good start for Joey Porter Jr. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Is JPJ going to be an all-pro corner for the black and gold this year? Give me a yes or a no for me down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or a no. We'll stay in the secondary here as DeShonn Elliott, the new strong safety here in Pittsburgh, has been looking pretty darn good. They've been blitzing him quite a bit, actually, and he has gotten home, sacking Justin Fields a number of times through the first 4 practices, man. This guy flies. This guy is really good at really disguising his blitzes as well. He kind of comes down to that slot area. He's like, am I going to be in coverage? Am I going to blitz you? He makes it very difficult on the quarterback and the offense to identify that. And then if he's going full speed ahead. I think it's one of the main reasons why the Steelers really like him is because he is such a good blitzer, and I'm super excited to see what he's going to look like in this defense this year. Then we get to a rookie inside linebacker here, Payton Wilson, who I had a first-round grade on. He's an awesome player, man, and that's showing out in full force out there on the practice field in Latrobe. This guy flies around. He is big. He plays with excellent instincts. And the people in that inside linebacker room, people like Landon Roberts and Patrick Queen, are calling this guy the most mature rookie they have ever seen. I think Payton Wilson's going to get on the field extremely quickly in his NFL career, and he's going to be an instant impact with the chance to be a really big-time all-pro caliber linebacker later on in his career. Then the person that is starting to get the lead for the number 4 edge rusher spot here in Pittsburgh is none other than Kyron Johnson. Going up against the second-team offensive line, this guy's speed looks different going up against those backup caliber players, man. I think that Kyron is super fast. He's a little bit undersized, but you know what? The Steelers have Nick Herbig on here, so they obviously don't care if you're a little bit undersized at this position. So Kyron Johnson, keep your eye out for him. He's got insane first-step quickness, and I do think that he has the edge to be the number 4 edge rusher here in Pittsburgh this year. TJ Watt, the outside linebacker, has been dominant, okay? So he's been a big winner. Can't leave him off my list. He's been that good. He's winning all over the place. He looks like the Defensive Player of the Year candidate, the perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate that we know TJ to be. So he's a full go. He looks fantastic. Somebody else on the defensive line that has looked really good. DeMarvin Leal, somebody that I challenged before going into camp this year. DeMarvin Leal, this is your year to really start to show us the potential. The reason why the Steelers kept him on the roster the past couple of seasons is because they were hoping he would develop. This is the season that he has to show up. And to his credit, he has absolutely done that. He is making splash plays behind the line of scrimmage, and that's definitely what you want to see from DeMarvin. Can't wait to see what he looks like when we put the pads on tomorrow. Now, coming up here on Steelers Talk, more winners on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster here. I got 8 more winners to break down with you guys and then 10 losers before we wrap up today's show. But before we get into some more winners here on the Steelers roster, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat right on the app, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets to whatever event you choose. You can go to a Steelers preseason or regular season game. Game Time has fantastic tickets and the lowest price guarantee on every single Steelers game this year. Plus, Cassie and I, we got our tickets to the Pirates games both this Saturday and Sunday when we come to Pittsburgh. Got them on Game Time for the lowest price guarantee. It's absolutely fantastic stuff, guys. And what I love about Game Time is that you get the lowest price guarantee. Every single time, all-in pricing, so you don't get slapped with crazy fees at checkout. I hate when ticketing apps do that, and flash deals so you can get even cheaper tickets the closer you wait to the event. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. That's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS. It's right down there in the bottom of your screen for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS. That's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS. For $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Some more camp winners here from Latrobe. Mason McCormick has looked like the best rookie offensive lineman among the bunch. Of course, you got Troy Fautanu, Zach Frazier, and Mason McCormick, but man, Mason had made some monster blocks in the run game this past weekend. And honestly, man, if I'm being honest with you, I think he looks better than Zach Frazier. Now, Frazier's not playing bad per se, but I think McCormick just brings a whole nother level of nastiness, and he has looked phenomenal. Fautanu has also has had his bright spots, going up against TJ Watt. He stunned him a couple times, which is not easy to do against the best defensive player in the world. So kudos to Fautanu for holding his own, but McCormick has looked phenomenal, and he is the winner among that rookie group so far, in my opinion. Then we get to Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, and it's very obvious through the first 4 practices that Arthur Smith is prioritizing getting the ball to Muth a lot, all right? Justin Fields is feeding him quite a bit. When Kyle Allen gets in there and Muth is in there as well, he's feeding him as well. It's definitely obvious that Muth is going to have a very prominent role in the Steelers' passing attack, and they feel like he's ready to have a true breakout season this year. Then we get to Jaylen Warren, the running back that I have said is going to be the most important player on the Steelers offense this year, and he's starting to prove me right, all right? He has taken multiple runs and screen passes to the house. This guy is explosive. He's got an incredible jump cut. I think Jaylen Warren's going to have a phenomenal season this year, and he has looked like the best running back on this team, maybe even in the division. I think this kid is that good. Then we get to Calvin Austin III, the wide receiver, who George Pickens said that, Calvin Austin III and him are going to lead the wide receiver room this year. So that tells me, along with all the other hints that we've gotten, that Calvin Austin III is the Steelers guy at the number 2 receiver spot, at least for now. Somebody else to keep your eye on is Roman Wilson, the rookie receiver out of Michigan, who is really starting to pop on that practice field in Latrobe. He had some really nice days, had some nice practices, scored some touchdowns. But I do think Calvin Austin III has played pretty darn well as well. So, if you have George Pickens, Calvin Austin III, and Roman Wilson, I'm feeling more and more comfortable with that being your wide receiver trio. Kyron Johnson, the punter, had some really good punts during the special teams period on Saturday and then also on Sunday. Kyle Allen, the third-string quarterback, I think is really starting to solidify himself as the number 3 quarterback. With the second-team offense, he's doing a really, really good job executing, getting in and out of the offense, throwing with accuracy and precision. In 7 shots, he has been the Steelers' best quarterback at getting into the end zone. So good job on Kyle Allen. I think he's going to be pretty darn good in these preseason games in the second half. And then to finish out my list of winners, this might surprise some people because he's been out. He hasn't practiced yet. But yes, Russell Wilson is on my list of winners. And the reason why Russell Wilson is a winner for me, guys, is because of the way the Steelers are reacting to his calf injury. All right, this is somebody in Russell Wilson that they viewed as somebody that's, maybe you will be the starting quarterback, maybe you're not. If this was a true quarterback competition, I think because Russell Wilson has said himself, and Mike Tomlin even said that if this was a game week, he could practice and he could play. That tells me that they are being cautious with Russell Wilson because they do not want to risk him getting further injury, right? Because if this is a true competition, you'd let him go out there and compete against Justin Fields with the first team reps, right? But no, they're letting him sit because they feel really good about him. They feel like he's their guy. And if you're going to sit a guy out with a minor calf injury when he can practice, that lets you know that this is probably their guy and this is who they're going to be riding with, at least to start the season, in my opinion. And because Russell Wilson was the winner, that means that Justin Fields does get into the loser category, guys. But again, it is early for Justin Fields, but I do want to kind of quelch this narrative that Fields has been playing great at Steelers training camp and the Steelers are opening up this quarterback competition. That's not the case to this point. If you don't believe me, here is Steelers Nation's Parker Abate, who's been there at every single Steelers practice in Latrobe this year on what he's seeing from Fields. It's very similar to what I've been saying. Fields has been overthrowing many receivers and his accuracy hasn't been up to par. This is something he must be better with if he ever wants to unseat Wilson as the starter. This is Fields' chance to shine and prove to the coaching staff that he can be a legitimate QB1. It just hasn't been very convincing thus far. So listen, man, when it comes to Justin Fields, the truth is he's been shaky to this point. Yes, he has had some very nice viral clips that have come out on X, and because of that, some national media people are like, oh my gosh, Justin Fields is balling out at camp. And they're not taking a look at the entire picture, right? He's been awful in 7 shots to this point, guys. Just 3 for 12 in his opportunities in 7 shots, not getting into the end zone. That was Kenny Pickett's biggest issue. Fields is showing that issue as well through the first 3 opportunities that he had. Then the ball placement stuff. I mean, Abate said it himself, overthrows. And that's the big issue with him is that he's overshooting his receivers. He overshot Scotty Miller yesterday for an interception that landed into the lap of Donte Jackson. And he's also taken a lot of sacks. He's holding on to the ball for a long time. That was his trademark there with the Chicago Bears. He held on to the ball for an average of 3.23 seconds, which was almost 0.2 seconds more than the next most quarterback at a 45 quarterback. So this is somebody that holds on to the ball for a very long time. He took a lot of sacks. He's missing open receivers. George Pickens was jumping up and down at times because he was wide open and Fields wasn't getting to him in his progression. And then the overall efficiency, man, I'm not actually sure that Fields has completed 3 straight passes in the 11-on-11 period so far in camp. He has shown flashes, but the consistency simply isn't there for Justin. at least not to this point. Now, to be clear, I am happy that Justin Fields is here. I think if Russell Wilson stinks, I think he provides the Steelers an excellent plan B option. Okay, and I want him to succeed because if he does, the Steelers are set at the quarterback position for a very long time, right? They don't have to try and go out and get another quarterback in free agency or in the draft. If Justin Fields is the future, that's fantastic for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But if he isn't playing well on the practice field, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that Justin Fields is playing great when he's not. And, I will acknowledge that he's had some nice individual throws, but we have to be realistic. We have to be honest with each other here. When you look at the grand picture here, yes, he's going up against one of the best defenses in football, but if he's going to be the QB1, he's going to be asked to do that on a weekly basis. To this point, it hasn't been pretty for Justin Fields, at least not consistently. So also, it is still early when it comes to Fields, okay, guys? So, once the pads come on, maybe things get better. The preseason games, if he balls out, maybe, things can start to shift a little bit in terms of the narrative. But for right now, I think he had an opportunity to really make an imprint on the Steelers coaching staff, and I just don't think the consistency was there enough to challenge Russ for the starting QB spot. So I do think we have to be patient with Fields, guys. He is, I think they brought him in here to learn from Russ this season. Let's allow the kid the opportunity to do that. Let's not try to rush him onto the field, and let's let him learn to see if he can become a legitimate franchise quarterback for this franchise moving forward. I think that Justin Fields is very talented, and hopefully he can foster that talent all throughout this season. Get into the rest of my losers here. John Rice Plumlee, really struggling. When he's getting reps, it's not looking good. Kyle Allen has looked a lot better than him. So I'm not sure if Plumlee is in the inroads here to make the final roster. Then we get Naji Harris. He's a loser, but, he's kind of like in the middle, okay? He's fumbled a couple times. He hasn't really broken off any big runs. He's had some nice runs where it's like 7, 8, 9 yards, but it's not like fantastic stuff like you're seeing from Jaylen Warren. I do think Naji is going to have a very important role in this offense as the bruising running back, whereas Warren is more of the explosive running back, and that's very important. But I do think with Naji trying to get that second contract here in Pittsburgh, that the odds of that aren't looking too great with the way Warren is playing. Then we get Darnell Washington, who is once again showing a drop issue. The route running, in my opinion, has not improved from last year. He's still very stiff, and he's had some false start penalties, and that's obviously going to kill the offense there. So Darnell, not the best start to camp, in my opinion. Mark Robinson, who I think is on the outside looking in right now at that inside linebacker position. He's undersized. He's not the best in pass coverage, if I'm being honest with you, man. So Mark Robinson has to really turn things around to make the final roster. Josiah Scott took most of the first-team reps at slot cornerback during OTAs. Now he's the second string, so that's not great for him. Obviously, if you get demoted on the depth chart for an undrafted free agent, you're going to probably be on the losers list. Chris Boswell missed from both 42 and 44 yards during the kicking period on Saturday, which wasn't fantastic, man, if I'm being honest with you. Boswell is somebody that I have a lot of belief in. I'm not overly worried about it, but they've only done field goals once so far in practices, and it didn't look fantastic. Reed, we can just go to the next one here on the list. Boswell is somebody that I do believe in, guys. He just needs to get a little bit better once we go back to the special teams periods. Then the rest are injury guys, all right? So Cole Holcomb is going to be on there, Cordero Patterson, and also Rodney Williams. All of them are going to be on the losers list just because they're not out there, right? Rodney Williams sprained his AC joint. He's going to be out for a little bit. Cordero Patterson is still trying to get back from that hamstring injury he suffered while training in the offseason. And Cole Holcomb, we still don't know when he's going to be back, right? So hopefully these guys can get on the field as soon as possible. But as long as they're off the field, they are training camp losers to this point. So who's your guy? Let me know down there in the comment section which Steelers player has been the biggest winner so far in camp. All right, who's having the best camp? Is it Beanie Bishop Jr.? Is it Donte Jackson? Is it somebody else? Let me know what you guys are thinking down there in the comment section. And if you guys want to get those live practice updates, tomorrow Russell Wilson practices for the first time as a Pittsburgh Steeler at training camp in pads. So if you want to get live updates tomorrow morning, you can find me at Jack_Sperry. Plus you get a shout out on Friday's live show, so you get that extra benefit as well. And if you want to find me on my other social media accounts here, you can find me at sparedog.football on both IG and TikTok.